Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we back and getting into? We're getting into the last episode of Love is Blind, and it is the reunion. And I meant to say Love is Blind season 5, the reunion. We all get that now. We all get that. Yes. Well, before we get into it, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so you know I'm on and doing videos. And let's talk about this reunion. Why are all the reunions so dry? Like, seriously, why are they always so dry? And they've always got to have someone that they can scapegoat and make them look like shit. All the time. I'm kind of looking for greatness. The edits are screaming, oh, this is going to be fiery, it's going to pop off, it's going to and then you get to it and it's like deflation, like absolute deflation. All I can say is, it weren't a great watch. Like, seriously, it was not a great watch. Not that I'm looking for drama or anything like that, but I still don't think some of the questions were asked, but I still don't think some people were called out on the behaviours as much as they should have been called out on the behaviours. And it's the fact that people get the option of whether they're going to turn up to the show or not. At the end of the day, if your ass went through the process, as in Uche, you should have took your ass to that bloody couch. Because at the end of the day, you had a lot to say. You had a lot to say in the show in terms of how things were. You should have been there to answer some questions. It was left to Aaliyah to literally bat these questions that she wanted to find out. Why was your ass not there, Uche? Like, seriously, you had enough to say across social media when it came to Instagram and putting out your little story. But when it came to actually sitting down in front of the people, that you say you wanted to confront and say what you needed to say in that sense, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. So all I'm going to see you as is a disappearing prick at the end of the day. The shit that you said was all complete guff, and all you wanted to do was literally break up the marriage or the relationship of Lydia and Milton. At the end of the day, you didn't want Lydia with nobody. You may not have wanted her yourself because you liked the fact that you could pick her up and drop her off each time over a how many year period you was in a relationship, and you kept ghosting the girl, picking her up when she was doing well, and then dropping her when she started to decline again. That's what you kept on doing to her at the end of the day, and you have now lost the opportunity to do that, and you don't want to face the repercussions that your actions will cause, because you know what, you couldn't chat rings around Milton. And that's a good thing. You could not chat rings around Milton. Milton had your number at the end of the day. Milton ain't stupid. And this is what I mean. Milton thought analytically. But it did come out in the fact that, like, I'm just going to literally chat. I'm just going to go back and forth in terms of talking about this reunion. So it's literally not going to, it's not really going to go in order. But I'm going to talk as the memories like filter back through my brain. So basically these guys are chatting and basically saying that Uche was not really a good person. Like, Uche was really not a good person in them pods. Like, we already knew that he wanted to know too much about Milton and Lydia and what they were getting up to. We already knew this. We've seen it from the questions that he was asking. But Milton was saying that he was asking a lot more questions. And all the other lads as well was saying that he was asking questions about their relationships. But then when he would go on dates with the girls that they were speaking about or they were interested in, he would badmouth them to the girls. And this is what I'm saying, all this shit came out in the wash. So I think people had a lot of questions for Uche, but he was not there to answer them. And my other thing is as well is Aaliyah's coming out with her upset. Yes, her experience tanked on this show, completely tanked on this show, but not without the help of Lydia and Uche at the end of the day. So they should have accepted responsibility in how her experience turned out. So it's not fair to just place the blame all on Aaliyah, because Aaliyah had some questions that she wanted to have answered. So it just got my goat when I think it was what's her name, Vanessa Lachey, and even down to Milton and some other people literally jumped to the defense of Lydia, like literally jumped to the defense of Lydia. And I'm like, well, no, because she should have answered some of these questions going forward. She should have spoke to Aaliyah about the situation that she had a hand into, because don't forget, she had a hand in this too. And there are a lot of question marks in the hell did these two manage to get on the same show together, because Lydia did let it slip that they did have a conversation with each other, her and Uche, and basically talked about the casting process. So they already had an idea that they were both actually going to the show. And how did she not know that Uche was not going to be there, and that Uche didn't know Lydia was going to be there? They knew this already previously. So in essence, it was kind of planned, it was kind of scripted in that sense for them to both be on the same show. But the fact of it is Lydia looked out by getting someone like Milton. And now bearing in mind, she nearly lost that person in Milton, because Lydia wanted Izzy at first, the toxic Izzy. Lydia wanted Izzy at first and wasn't really paying Milton any mind until Milton became her last option. Now, as I said, I love them together. I do love them together, and I hope that they work for many more years to come, because they've been together for 2.5 years now, which is what they said. But yeah, in respect of that, as I said, I'm not going to go through what he said, she said, and this, that, and the other. I thought they treated Aaliyah poorly, to be fair. I really did. I thought they treated her poorly, and I thought they dismissed her concerns and didn't validate anything that she was saying, because everybody wanted to protect Milton. Everybody wanted to protect Lydia. So then there was a segment in this that I will call the Izzy and Stacey show, because it became the Izzy and Stacey show, that they talked to them so long, like absolutely so long. It was irritating as hell. It was irritating. Like, the first started off, like, after Milton talked about their 4-on-OK and what their portfolio looked like, Vanessa was a little bit shady by turning around and saying, oh, then we'll go to Izzy, because we already know the situation with Izzy and his credit score and the fact that he couldn't get credit and the finances and this, that, and the other. So he was trying to play it like he and Stacey didn't have that conversation at all until later in the day, where in actuality, Stacey's saying, no, we did kind of have the conversations in regards to finances and stuff like that when we were in the pods. Now, it came out that Izzy was saying that he'd had those conversations with other girls in terms of his finances and where he was, and he basically was saying that he was open with those girls when he had those conversations with him. And my thought was, why couldn't you be open with Stacey so she could make an informed decision of whether she wanted to carry on with you in that sense? But as we'd have to have it is Stacey is already set in her own world, and people are kind of bagging on the fact or bringing up the fact that, you know, that I think people, more likely Izzy, I believe in an interview after this, was talking about the fact that, you know, Stacey is involved in her father's company, so that's where her money's coming from, and so she can get X, Y, and Z. And I said, you can't bag her for that. At the end of the day, you can't bag her for that. At the end of the day, she may have a part in her father's company, but she's making her own money within that company. Also, the fact of it is she does the other stuff at the gym and stuff like that, so she's making her own money in that fact. So you can't really bag her for that at the end of the day, because if my parents had money and they said I was interested in the company, whatever it is that they were doing, and I got a role in there, at the end of the day I'd work damn hard just to say I've got attributes to offer. I ain't just here because of my parents at the end of the day, even though that's how it may start off. I ain't just here just because of my parents. I have attributes to offer as well, and I can put X, Y, and Z in place. So you can't really bag her for that. Cannot bag Stacey for that. But then it turns around to the fact that, you know, Izzy was talking about how they'd left it and she wanted space for a week, so he was going to give her this space for a week, and he just, after a couple of days, he couldn't be without her. He wanted to talk to her. He wanted to have those conversations with her. And then he said he was completely heartbroken in the fact that when he did manage to have that conversation with Stacey, that Stacey had already checked out, so there was no relationship for them to be had. But at the end of this time, Stacey had already said that she's now in a relationship with someone. So I was kind of like, I knew these two wouldn't work out. Like, seriously, I knew these two wouldn't work out, because he was not in a position where Stacey wanted to be in that position. Stacey wanted a comfortable life with whoever she ends up with at the end of the day. And she felt that Izzy, in my opinion, couldn't give her the life that she wanted and wanted to be accustomed to, the life that she had built for herself. And when she was dating, the life that other men have shown her, and she didn't believe that Izzy would be able to do that for her. So that I think that was the crux of the matter of them, like literally her saying, you know what, no, it's just not for me. It's just not for me. They talked about them saying, well, after that, did you date and stuff? And my guy started like he the words, whatever lie he was building up to say was not allowing him to say it. So Stacey kind of had to take over and talk to him, because he was struggling. Like, he was hella struggling trying to speak. So she had to talk about it for him. So that, and I think that was when they talked about that, you know, Stacey wasn't like wanting to date him after the show in that sense. And he said that he had a gut feeling that something was off. He was saying he didn't know if they were still engaged, if she was still his fiance, if they were still in a relationship. And I'm like, no, you went through to the marriage. And she said no, so obviously you're not going to be a fiance. That ship has sailed, my love. That ship went. So you were just looking to restart your relationship from scratch. And that's what Stacey wanted, to restart the relationship from scratch, to get to know them properly in the dating scene, in that sense, to go out, have dates, do X, Y, and Z. That's not what Izzy wanted. So basically she was saying that Izzy felt that if they were to go back to the beginning, then to him it's literally going back and not making any progression forward. But if Izzy, all I would say is Izzy really wanted that relationship with Stacey, and she was saying, look, let's just take it to the brass knuckles, to the bare boards, and this is how we should go forward and see how we interact and then integrate in each other's lives. Then that's how he should have said, okay, then if he really wanted Stacey, he should have probably said, okay, then in that sense. But I think Izzy wanted to start off where they had left off in terms of the whole fiance bit, and that's kind of level of relationship that wasn't going to work. So then in come Johnny and Chris, and they were not together. They were not together because after the fucking barbecue, as it were, Chris literally went to a wedding or went somewhere else and basically ghosted this girl, like full on ghosted this girl, and then popped up and said that he was with someone. So they basically asked him, well, were you with someone when you were still talking to Johnny? And he basically said yes. So he essentially cheated on Johnny. He ghosted her, then cheated on her. And I thought, how fucked up is that? How fucked up is that? Where she says that she was trying her hardest to make up for keeping him as second best, but he's saying that Chris was there saying, waxing poetic about this girl that he met and what level playing field they're on and this, that and the other. And I thought, my God, just shut up. I just thought, just at this point, just shut up. Just shush. Because it's not working out for you. At the end of the day, you freaking ghosted this girl and then cheated on her, and then you come back and try to then placate it and wrap it up into this silver bow that you've met this person that does X, Y, and Z, where Johnny didn't. You didn't even have a conversation with the girl. You did not even have a conversation with the girl to tell her that you two are no longer in a relationship. Like, seriously, who does that? Who does that? You didn't even ordain or have the audacity to give this girl a piece of your time to have a conversation with her, to say, look, this is where my feelings are, and I've actually met someone, so it's not a good idea for me and you to keep talking with each other or being together. I'm just like, yeah, nah. Because people were fucked off with the fact that he sat there and defended Johnny as his girlfriend, defended her against Izzy and Stacey, basically, in terms of what happened at that barbecue. And then you turn around and do that to her, and then Chris goes, I would always defend the people that I love. And then they asked him, well, would you cheat on the people that you love? Well, obviously you did. You did cheat on a person that you supposedly loved at the end of the day. And then he said he felt guilty and heartbroken. And I was like, my guy, pull another one. pull the other one, because I don't see any kind of act of contrition on your face or apology in that at all. Like, Johnny did say that he apologized to her and she got quite tearful about it. And the way that she found out is that her friend saw him with this other girl and came and told her. And at that point I was like, yeah, nah, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Like, seriously, I wouldn't even, if I found something out like that, like, say if I was the girl that you like decided that you were going to be with, that you wanted over this other girl, and you haven't spoke to them, so in essence you're still together, so basically I'm the other woman in that sense, I just said, nah, you fucked up there, you're gone. But as I've been told, I haven't checked into it, so I don't know if it's fact or fiction, so don't quote me on it. I don't know if it's fact or fiction, but I have heard that apparently Chris was already in a relationship when he entered the show, and he wanted to have more of a presence on his social media. And as some people do, the only way to do this sometimes is to go onto certain shows in order to get that social media presence, because people constantly are thinking, all I need to do is get on these shows and I'll be instantly famous. People want to work with me. I'll get endorsements, this, that, and the other. It doesn't work that way unless you're a fucking good person at the end of the day. So apparently Chris went on the show to bolster his footprint in his social media game, basically, so it's being said. As I said, I don't know whether that is factual fiction, but the girl that he's saying that he met was his girlfriend throughout the series, and when it didn't work out with Johnny and he wasn't getting that screen time after it didn't work out with Johnny, that's when he decided that he was going to go back to the girl, because I think the last screen time he would have been that barbecue. And if it's true, it does kind of coincide. There's no coincidence in that. It does kind of coincide with one or the other. Johnny is saying that she's now dating someone, and she's been dating them for 1.5 years now. So they brought up the situation between Johnny and Stacey and what happened there. And Stacey was basically saying that she heard things from the other girls that Johnny is saying X, Y, and Z about her. So Johnny was like, yeah, she said that. She did. It's not like she could lie about it. But the fact of it was, when Stacey was speaking, it was like Johnny and Chris decided to have their own little conversation. Johnny didn't give a shit what was coming out of Stacey's mouth. And I think Stacey could see that they were having the conversations. And I think Vanessa called them out on it as well. Because I was like, yeah, that's kind of rude. I found it quite funny. I really did. I found it funny, but I thought that's kind of rude in you doing that. And then after all that, because Johnny's got it in her head that Stacey did go over and was bad mouthing her to Chris when Izzy and Chris were having this conversation, and Stacey said that she didn't at all in the slightest. So they played the whole clip back, and it did show that Stacey didn't really say anything about Johnny, and then Johnny rolled up, and then that's when Stacey said her vitriol, horrible shit that she said to Johnny after Johnny rolled up and accused her of saying things to Chris, basically. So to be fair, Stacey didn't really say anything, but then she reacted base level. That's how I'm going to say it. She reacted base level when Johnny said what she said, and then the horrible things that she then said about Johnny and to Johnny at that point in time. So then basically it comes out that Izzy and Johnny shared a kiss. Apparently there's this bar in Houston. Houston's a very small place, and everybody and all the cast and this, that, and the other met up at this specific bar, and everybody was there because apparently Chris was there with his girlfriend as well, and probably saw like Izzy and Johnny macking it out with each other. So Izzy and Johnny kissed, and Izzy and Johnny were both going to try and see as well if it would go any further from that, in terms of them wanting to see how a relationship would progress through between them. I don't think it went as far further than the kiss, because they decided not to, and they didn't think that it would work. But it's the fact that Izzy, you said these atrocious things about Johnny to Stacey, to Chris, and to Johnny herself, and then in the next blink of an eye after the show, you're then macking on this girl and kissing her. How does that work? How does that work? So Izzy plays it off as though he did apologize to her for what he'd said, but I'm like, but you believe that bullshit. You believe that bullshit. And this is why I said Izzy was just jealous over the fact that Johnny ended up dating Chris and he was trying to get in between their relationship. That's how I'm going to see it in that sense. That's what he was doing. So when he'd found out that them two were probably no longer together is when he decided to put the moves on Johnny after he'd broken up with Stacey. But even Stacey was at the point where I just can't compute that. The things that you said and then you go and do that, I just can't compute it. And I'm the same, I can't compute it at all. These people are weird, like fully weird, because they're there talking about the situation. And as I said, it's just like a whole free-for-all. It's like a whole free-for-all and everybody's just talking literally at once, and I'm just like, yeah, nah, this reunion was not great. It really was not great at all. JP and JP and Tyler coming. Tyler looks exquisite. I ain't gonna lie, they all looked exquisite, but the dresses that I loved was Aaliyah's. Aaliyah looked bomb. Aaliyah looked bomb. That's all I'm gonna say. Aaliyah looked good. And then when Tyler came in and her dress was gorgeous. It actually reminded me of the dress from that film, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. And straight off the bat, I'm like, don't call him Captain America, because to me he's just not a Captain America to me. Just because he wears the American apparel from head to motherfucking foot doesn't make him Captain America. So it goes on to like their situation and how they are at the moment in that regard. JP's with someone and I'm like, okay, he's with someone. Does he freaking talk to this girl? Because apparently he's been with this girl for a year. And I'm like, do you talk to her? And I'm like, bearing in mind, he must talk to her because at the end of the day, it must be someone that he actually likes the look of in that sense. And someone who doesn't necessarily wear makeup. That's how I'm going to see it. Someone who doesn't necessarily wear makeup. So they do show the clip in regards to how he was with Taylor, and you could see Stacey's face just like boiling and boiling and boiling on the behalf of Taylor at that point in time. And it shows you when Taylor gave him the ring back and then they had their discussion around that. I mean, all I'm gonna say is JP didn't really say much in regards to like the situation there. And yes, he said he learnt in terms of how that came across and he maybe shouldn't have said what he said in that regard. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, it's the fact that like you still expected after the honeymoon to carry on with Taylor and for her to carry on in the experiment with you, knowing full well that you said what you said and you did what you did to her. This was the most, again, I've heard JP speak on the couch. He did kind of get his views out and Taylor got her views out as well. And as I said, and that's where it really ended, to be fair. There wasn't really anything to write home about, to be honest with you. The most controversial thing was when Aaliyah came on trying to speak to Lydia and asking those questions. Yes, Lydia answered what Aaliyah was saying, but I don't think she fully took responsibility for how much she played within that situation between Aaliyah and Uche. But all I would say is both of them women, Lydia and Aaliyah, had a fucking quick escape from Uche at the end of the day, because yeah, and any woman thinking about being with Uche, all they need to do is watch Love is Blind and basically keep the hell away from that man. Like seriously, keep the hell away from that man until he works on himself and how he can effectively behave within a relationship and towards women. Also, that reminds me, I wanted to bring up the fact that Aaliyah, when Aaliyah was explaining that her and Uche were trying to make a go of it after that meeting that they had in the calf, he then turned around and said that he didn't want to be with Aaliyah because she isn't his type of woman. Now, as a dark-skinned black woman, I know exactly what he means. by what he was saying, and I think it's gross and disgusting at the end of the day. So basically Aaliyah was not his type, even though Aaliyah is fucking beautiful, and he absolutely wishes, because Aaliyah is a queen at the end of the day. Aaliyah is a total queen at the end of the day, and if he couldn't see those attributes, then that's more for him, and she had a lucky escape. That's how I'm going to see it. But as again, my renegades, I have now come to the end of this episode. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I am back on and doing videos. And I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.